Heaven and hell. You had an accident. Everything fades to black. Your body stays behind. And then the eternal judgment begins. For millions throughout history, death isn't the end. It's the beginning of a verdict, one that wasn't made at that moment, but long before, throughout your life. The idea of heaven and hell is perhaps the oldest, the clearest, and the most terrifying. According to Christianity and other Abrahamic religions, when you die, your soul is judged. Your actions, your words, even your silences, they all matter. If you were just kind and humble, heaven opens its gates, a place where pain doesn't exist, where fulfillment is eternal, and where, according to Scripture, you live in communion with God. No tears, no fear, just peace. Everlasting peace. But if you caused harm, turned away from goodness, then hell awaits. A place of darkness, unquenchable fire, and utter isolation. And according to many mystical accounts, it's not the physical torment that hurts the most. It's the absence of the divine, knowing you could have lived in the light, but chose the shadow instead. People who've had near-death experiences say they've glimpsed both realms. Howard Storm, an atheist artist, described how, after being clinically dead, he was dragged by dark beings until he cried out for divine help. In that moment, according to him, the light came and saved him. His life changed forever. Heaven and hell aren't just places. They're mirrors of our choices. For believers, they are the final outcome, written by every decision we make, every single day. The judgment has been made, heaven or hell, but not everyone believes that's where the journey ends. For some, death is just another doorway, another chance, another life. Let's talk about reincarnation. Reincarnation. You just die. You close your eyes and open them again. But you're not you. You're someone else, in a different body, a different time, maybe even in a place you've never imagined. That's the idea of reincarnation. That death isn't the end. It's just a transformation. As if life were an endless cycle, and the soul is playing out everything it's yet to become. In belief systems like Hinduism, Buddhism, and many ancient cultures, the soul journeys from life to life. Each one is a lesson, each body a chance to evolve. But you don't always remember. Being born is like restarting a game with no memory of your past. Still, sometimes something lingers. There are children who, from an early age, describe lives that aren't theirs. Impossible stories, forgotten names, until researchers confirm those people and places were real. One of the most famous cases is James Leininger, an American boy who, at just 2 years old, talked about fighter planes and missions over the Pacific. He described in detail how he died as a pilot in World War II. His skeptical parents were stunned to discover that many of his stories matched the life of a real fallen pilot. Were they memories, coincidences, or a clever setup to sell the book Soul Survivor? In the context of reincarnation, it all makes sense. The joys, the pain, the trials, nothing is wasted, because everything repeats until we learn. But if reincarnation is real, is there a space between lives, a realm where the soul waits, reflects, purifies before returning? That's what we'll explore next. Purgatory. Purgatory. You crash your car, everything stops. The last heartbeat, and a moment later, you're gone. You weren't a saint, but not a monster either. That, according to some faiths, lands you in purgatory, a place of spiritual waiting, where the soul is cleansed in order to enter heaven. It's the realm of almost there, of not yet, of souls in transit. In Christian traditions, purgatory is a state where the soul faces its flaws, heals its wounds, and prepares to step into eternity. It's like shedding a heavy weight before you can fly. These aren't lost souls, they're souls in the middle of a cleansing process. This idea isn't new. From the early centuries of Christianity, believers prayed for the dead, convinced that their prayers helped souls in purification. Over time, saints and theologians deepened this spiritual reality. Figures like St. Catherine of Siena and Catalina Rivas described intense visions of purgatory, a place filled with hope but also deep yearning. Souls there don't suffer from punishment, but from love. They long for the light, but can't enter it yet. St. John Vianney, known for his visions and confessions, said, "The greatest pain in purgatory isn't the purifying fire. It's the temporary absence of God's presence. That thirst for God," he said, "burns more than any flame." Why does this matter? Because in Christian belief, purgatory isn't just a waiting room. It's an act of mercy. Without it, no imperfect soul could ever reach heaven. It's the final chance to be purified, to embrace eternity, clean and whole. In Purgatory, some souls finish their time. They're purified and they rise, but others just can't move on. They're stuck between what was and what will never be. They wander, they search, they refuse to vanish. And that brings us to our next theory: ghosts and spirits. Ghosts or spirits? The house is quiet, everyone's asleep, or so you think. Suddenly a whisper, something falls to the floor, a cold chill runs down your spine. Who's there? It's not your imagination. Every culture has a name for them, but the idea is the same. Some souls just don't move on. They're not demons, they're not angels, they're something else entirely. Spirits trapped between two worlds. Why do they stay? Some say that when a death is sudden, violent, or unbearably painful, the soul refuses to leave. Broken promises, hugs never given, lives cut short without a goodbye. In those cases, closing your eyes forever isn't so easy. There's no shortage of stories. In Japan, the Yurei seek justice. In Mexico, La Llorona weeps through eternity. On Dia de Muertos, spirits return to spend one more day with the living. And in North America, shadows whisper too. From famous poltergeists that move objects for no reason to the haunted Stanley Hotel in Colorado, where footsteps and laughter echo in the night. Even universities like Penn State have their ghost stories, tales of souls that never left. And it's not just legends. Celebrities have shared their own encounters. Ariana Grande, followed by a strange presence in a cemetery. Demi Lovato, witnessing unexplainable activity in her own home. Stories like these feed a question that keeps many of us up at night. Are they real? Flickers of fear from our imagination? Or maybe echoes of those still watching us from the other side? Because if some never leave, what about those who were never here to begin with, but exist in another reality? What comes next is even more unsettling. Parallel universes. Parallel universes. You wake up with a strange feeling. Something's off, like you've already lived this exact moment before. You glance at the clock. 11:11. Again, a thought flashes through your mind. What if all of this already happened somewhere else? The theory of parallel universes suggests there's not just one version of you. There are many, infinite versions, each one living a different life based on the choices you could have made. What if in another universe, you never lost that person? What if in some other reality, you're not even watching this video because you were never born? Sounds like science fiction, but it's not as far-fetched as it seems. Physicists like Hugh Everett propose that with every decision, the universe splits. A new version branches off, creating another timeline. And it's not just theory. People claim to have felt these disconnects, subtle shifts, memories of things that supposedly never happened. Experiences now called the Mandela effect. Has it happened to you? Like those who swear a character died, but in this timeline, they're still alive. Ancient cultures had similar beliefs. The Mayans spoke of overlapping worlds. Some indigenous shamans described other planes reached through dreams or visions. Today, many believe that dreams, déjà vu, and strange coincidences might be cracks between dimensions. But if in other universes we're living alternate versions of our lives, could it be that in all of them, we're trapped inside something much bigger? Because the next theory takes a disturbing turn. What if none of this is real, and we're living inside a simulation? Simulation theory. Have you ever felt like this? Like life is either too perfect or too chaotic? As if everything around you is part of a script you didn't write? You trip in the same spot over and over. The same numbers keep showing up. You experience déjà vu so intense, it gives you chills. And then the question hits you, what if we're not real? That's exactly what simulation theory suggests, that our entire existence, everything we feel, love, fear, could just be part of a program created by a higher intelligence. And no, it's not just science fiction from the Matrix. Physicists, philosophers, and tech visionaries like Elon Musk have seriously proposed that the chances of us living in the original reality are close to zero. According to this idea, it's far more likely that we're part of an incredibly advanced simulation, perhaps built by future humans or by civilizations far more evolved than ours. But how would we know? Little clues seem to surround us. Everyday glitches, that eerie feeling of having lived the same moment before. Quantum physics, where particles behave like they're following rules from a coded system. And even dreams, entire worlds that spawn each night fully formed. Even things like repeating numbers or bizarre coincidences that feel like lazy script writing only add to the suspicion. So if we are in a simulation, what's the point of it all? Are we just characters in a game, avatars in some cosmic experiment? Or maybe, like in any video game, when it's over, there's only one place left to go: eternal sleep. In the next theory, we'll cross that boundary. where death isn't the end but the start of a dream you never wake up from. The dream theory. The dream theory. Every night, you die a little. You close your eyes and the world disappears. No time, no rules, just images floating in and out like fragments of another reality. Dreaming, an experience so familiar, we forget how mysterious it truly is. Who controls these worlds? Who decides what you see or what you forget when you wake up? According to the dream theory, death might be exactly that, an eternal dream from which you never wake. No judgment, no paradise, no punishment, just the mind wandering through its own universe forever. For those who believe in this idea, death isn't a blackout. It's a transition from the fleeting dream of life to the endless dream of existence. And it's not a new idea. In many cultures, sleep has long been seen as a portal. The ancient Greeks spoke of Hypnos, the god of sleep, twin brother of Thanatos, the god of death. To them, to sleep and to die were almost the same. And in modern times, science still struggles to fully explain why we dream. Some say dreams are just the brain trying to make sense of chaos. Others believe they're glimpses into something far greater. But here's the unsettling question. If death is nothing but a dream, would you even realize you're no longer alive? Or would you be trapped in a loop of memories, desires, and worlds only you can see? Eternal dreaming sounds peaceful. Until you remember, not all dreams are pleasant, because if dreaming forever is possible, so is this next idea, absolute nothingness. Imagine closing your eyes, and there's no darkness, no silence, nothing, not a black void, but the total absence of everything. No you, no story, no memory, absolute nothingness. To many, this is the coldest, most direct vision of death. When the body shuts down, so does consciousness, and what remains is not a wandering soul or an eternal dream. It's simply the end. Philosophers and scientists, especially those who reject any spiritual afterlife, have long supported this idea. Stephen Hawking put it bluntly, "Before we were born, we didn't exist, and after death, it's the same. No punishment, no reward, just the complete cessation of being." For some, that's terrifying, to imagine every memory, every laugh, every tear, simply gone, like a candle snuffed out in the middle of the night. But for others, it's freeing. No judgment, no pressure, just peace, absolute and eternal. Still, the idea lingers, because deep down, humans seem to crave continuity, to matter, to leave something behind, to transcend. And it's in that resistance to disappear where the next question arises. Is nothingness really the final stop, or just a threshold to something far greater? Let's leave the void behind and explore one of the most uplifting and spiritual theories of all, transcendence. Transcendence, picture a drop of water, small, simple, alone. Now imagine that drop falling into the ocean. It's no longer just itself, it becomes everything. That's how many philosophies describe transcendence. It's not about continuing as you, it's about letting go of individuality and becoming part of the whole. In this view, death isn't an ending, it's a leap from being a separate me to joining the great we, like ceasing to be a single note and becoming the entire symphony. Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism speak of this in different ways. In Buddhism, it's called Nirvana. In Hinduism, Moksha. Both describe transcendence as liberation, freedom from suffering, desire, and even reincarnation. In Christian mysticism, saints like Teresa of Avila or John of the Cross described it as mystical union with God, a state where the soul no longer exists as self because it becomes pure love, no fear, no pain, just total overwhelming fullness. Some people who've had near-death experiences describe something similar, a dissolving of the ego, an indescribable connection with everything. No words, no thoughts, just peace. But transcendence raises a deep question. If you stop being you to become part of something infinite, do you still exist? Or do you become something so vast, so universal, that the concept of you simply vanishes? Still, not all cultures see death as merging with something divine. Some see it as a real, physical journey, one that can be dark and dangerous. In the next theory, we'll explore a much older path, the journey to the underworld. The underworld life ends, and the real journey begins. In many ancient cultures, death wasn't fading into nothing. It was crossing a threshold, entering a realm where the living can't go, but the dead must face, the underworld. It's not always a place of punishment. Sometimes it's simply the next step, a hidden world, quiet and deep, where souls must prove themselves or settle their debts. In Greek mythology, the journey is solemn and feared. The soul had to cross the river Styx, ferried by Karen, the boatmen who only accepted payment in coins. Those who couldn't pay wandered the shores, forgotten. Beyond the river waited Cerberus, the three-headed dog who kept the dead from returning. Only then was fate decided. The Elysian fields for the righteous, Tartarus for the wicked. In ancient Egypt, the soul faced a delicate judgment. Before Osiris, the heart of the deceased was weighed against a feather. If it was heavier, it was devoured. If it was pure, the soul could move on to eternity. In Mesoamerica, the Maya spoke of Xibalba, an underground realm full of trials. In Japan, there was Yomi, a shadowy place where the dead slowly drifted away from the world of the living. The underworld is a constant, not heaven, not hell, but a territory that must be crossed. Because in these cultures, death isn't just a shutdown, it's one last challenge, the final path the soul must take. But after walking through these shadowy roads, is there a final place where suffering ends? In the next theory, we'll explore just that. A place beyond pain, beyond judgment, beyond cycles, a place of total peace. That place is Nirvana. Nirvana, imagine, just for a moment, letting go of desire, letting go of the chase, letting go of the struggle, just being, in peace, in silence, in complete freedom. That is Nirvana. In Buddhist tradition, Nirvana isn't a place, it's a state of being, the end of the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. As long as we're alive, we're trapped in what they call samsara, a cycle fueled by our desires, fears, and attachments. We crave more. We fear loss. We cling to what we love and suffer when it's gone. You've felt it too, haven't you? In Nirvana, all of that fades away. No desire means no suffering. No attachment means no fear, only liberation. Those who've reached this state, according to ancient texts, describe it not as emptiness, but as weightless wholeness, like the soul dissolving into infinite calm. Figures like the Buddha dedicated their entire lives to teaching the path to get there. It's not easy. It takes understanding, detachment, compassion for all living beings. In Hinduism, there's a similar concept, moksha, the final liberation where the soul merges with universal consciousness. But behind all this perfect serenity lies a quiet question. If there's no suffering in nirvana, if moksha means there's no coming back, does the story end there? Or what if after reaching absolute peace, everything begins again? In the next theory, what feels like the end becomes something else entirely, an infinite loop. The theory of eternal repetition, you close your eyes. Everything ends, or so you think, because in the theory of eternal return, nothing ever really ends. Every moment, every choice, every life repeats over and over, forever. It's like being trapped in a loop you can't see. You live, you die, and you live again, exactly the same. In this vision, the universe doesn't move forward. It spins in perfect, unbreakable circles, like a playlist stuck on the same song, and you don't even notice. This idea isn't new. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Pythagoras and later the Stoics spoke of the eternal return. But it was Friedrich Nietzsche who gave it its most haunting form. In his work, he posed the ultimate question. If you had to live this exact life again and again without changing a thing, would you love your fate or curse it? Science, in a way, flirts with this concept too. Some theories suggest the universe may expand, collapse, and be born again in an endless cycle. And even if that sounds far off, everyday life is full of repetition, routines, mistakes we make again and again, relationships that follow the same old patterns. Are we just remembering it all wrong, or are we doomed to repeat every detail forever? If so, there is no escape, only restart, again and again. But in some cultures, there's something that can break the cycle, something that connects the past with the present, the living with the dead. The next theory isn't about repetition, it's about staying close to Guide, the world of ancestral spirits. The theory of ancestral spirits. You die, but you don't leave, at least not completely. In many cultures around the world, death is not a goodbye. It's a transformation, a new kind of presence. Those who pass on become ancestral spirits. They don't wander lost or seek revenge. They watch, they protect, and when the time comes, they guide. In Africa, Bantu communities believe that ancestors are guardians, watching over their descendants. In dreams, they send messages across time and space. In Japan, honoring one's family spirits is part of daily life. During Obon, a sacred festival, souls are believed to return home. Lanterns float down rivers to help guide them back. Among Native American cultures like the Navajo or Mapuche, ancestors are fountains of wisdom. Their stories, passed down through generations, are not just tales, they're maps, so we don't lose our way. Even pop culture captures this truth. In The Lion King, Mufasa tells Simba, "The great kings of the past look down on us from the stars." And in Pixar's Coco, Dia de los Muertos becomes a bridge between two worlds. A time to remember and be remembered. The world of ancestral spirits offers comfort. It's not a place of judgment, not a place of fear. It's a space where love and legacy survive death. But even this connection is just a stop on the soul's eternal journey. Because for some, the true destiny is not to stay, but to let go completely. In the next theory, we go beyond connection to explore what it means to release everything. Moksha. Moksha. After so many lifetimes, so many mistakes, so many returns, there comes a moment when the soul just wants to stop. That moment in Hindu tradition is called moksha, the ultimate liberation, the end of the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. As long as you're attached to desire, fear, and ego, they say you'll keep spinning in samsara, living, dying, coming back, over and over again. But reaching moksha is about release, letting go not just of the world, but of the idea of yourself. It's realizing that what we call me is just an illusion, that our true essence lies beyond bodies, names, and stories. In this state, there's no more suffering, no more longing. The soul, they say, merges with the ultimate reality, Brahman, pure, infinite, eternal consciousness. Getting there isn't easy. Sacred texts speak of lifetimes devoted to wisdom, meditation, and compassion. For those who reach it, there's no coming back. No nostalgia, just a peace so deep it goes beyond words. But while some long for this final dissolution, others do everything they can to cling to this life, and that's where spirituality gives way to science, to the idea that death might just be a pause. In the next and final theory, the soul steps aside for the body, and the desperate desire to keep living turns to ice. Let's talk about the coldest possibility of all, cryonics. Cryonics, death comes, the body shuts down, the soul, some say, leaves. But what if we don't let it? In the 21st century, there are those who refuse to accept death as the end. They want to beat fate with cold. That's the promise of cryonics, freezing the body right after death in hopes that one day science might bring it back. It's like hitting pause on the most important game of all. The body is brought to ultra-low temperatures, halting decay completely, and there it stays, suspended, waiting for technology that doesn't exist yet. Companies like Alcor Life Extension Foundation in the U.S. offer this service. For hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can reserve your spot in a massive tank of liquid nitrogen. Among its clients, scientists, entrepreneurs, even legendary baseball player Ted Williams, whose body has been frozen since 2002. But cryonics raises a lot of questions. There are no guarantees. No one knows if it'll ever be possible to revive a frozen body, or if the cells can even survive the process. And even if it works, would you still be you when you wake up, or just a thawed copy of who you once were? Cryonics doesn't aim for heaven, reincarnation, or transcendence. It only aims to buy time, to buy a second chance. And in the end, the biggest question remains, are we defeating death or just delaying it? Because whether it's an eternal paradise, another life, a dream with no end, or a frozen tank waiting for tomorrow's science, the truth is the same. The greatest mystery of all still lies ahead. So now tell me, when that final moment comes, which path will you take? But what if the greatest mystery isn't death at all, but getting lost in life, when the mind breaks, when memories vanish, but you remain? Tap on this video and discover the most shocking mental illnesses known to science, because the real labyrinth might be inside us,